Welcome to another edition of It's All Relative. I'm Josh, and today we're discussing a sensitive yet ever-growing cultural worldwide pastime, and that being youth athletics, coaches, parents, winning and losing, and the effects and impact the athletes go through. Sharing their own POVs from their respective positions. First, Paltz New York's assistant modified middle school baseball coach, Bobby Simmons.
How's it going?
An alum of NASKA, which is North American Sport Karate Association, and proud father of two possible star athletes with bright futures. One received a AA sectional award for middle linebacker for high school football. Ladies and gentlemen, Satiro Kazolias.
How you doing?
First off, I want to thank both of you for giving up some of your time and agreeing to come on It's All Relative. I greatly appreciate it, guys.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Greatly appreciated.
Before we start, I gotta say, less than 24 hours, we or our area has made worldwide news as we felt a 4.8 magnitude earthquake. I mean, first off, talk to me.
It was pretty nuts, man. I work nights. I was laying in bed. It sounded like a helicopter was landing right outside my window. Everything shook. I was like, what the hell is this? Lasted about 10 seconds or so, and then about a half an hour later, I found out it was an earthquake.
Did you feel it, Bobby?
Nah, I was at work, and we couldn't feel it through the concrete floors, unfortunately.
Yeah, when I heard about that, I did not feel it either. I was working too, and I received a message, and, Jody had said, an earthquake just went by, and it was like, wait, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? Like, we are in the Northeast. That is not normal,
It isn't normal. It's inevitable. We are on fault lines. Things shift all the time.
This is true. I've heard a lot of talk between just a lot of world changes or earth changes, whatnot, with solar eclipse or whatever eclipse is happening shortly, this earthquake. Either way, it was pretty wild. I mean, Bobby, you mentioned earlier that the earthquake, actually, let me add, no damage for either of you, right?
No damage.
Okay. So, but Bobby, you did mention that your son's, where he plays baseball.
Yeah,
stadium.
So my son, unfortunately, his travel game got canceled for tomorrow. It was supposed to be at Dutchess Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And due to the earthquake, the nets came down at the stadium, so we cannot use it until they fix them.
Yeah, you know what kind of, I guess, shocked me a little when I heard about it is because it shows you how crazy social media is and how quickly shit spreads, because as soon as we had heard that, you click on social media and that's all you see. People, and the range from where, people that I network with, where I was seeing, like, you know what I'm saying? Like some in Poughkeepsie, some in Newburgh, some in fucking Montgomery or Middletown, you know what I'm saying? Like all over. And it was like, damn. And some actually, thinking or one example was somebody has a solar panels, I guess, on their house, and they said that it rocked the house so much that they thought the panels were going to fall off.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but either
Pretty
way,
cool experience, though, man.
I'm sure. I actually, I'm not even gonna lie. Like I wish that I felt it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, both my kids came home from school and were like, "Dad, did you feel it?" And I was like, "No, I didn't." And they were like, "Yeah, we did."
Well, my wife texts me up, says, can you go and pick Anakin up? They had an earthquake, blah, 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 blah. So I go down, I pick him up. I'm like, yeah, did you feel that earthquake? No. You just texted your mom, asked me to pick you up, and you didn't even feel it?
Yeah, kids. Actually, I think local schools or schools around here, I think they did get out early, or I'm sure there was something. I mean, I feel like something happened where they let out earlier. I shouldn't even say, because I'm not 100% on that. But either way, we can move on. I just thought that was some wild shit. You know what I'm saying? But before we do get into that, I do want to bring up one more thing that I needed to mention on this show, and then I'd love to get both of your guys' opinions and thoughts on it. It's been a much talked about topic, but I need your predictions and thoughts for the July 20th, 2024 scheduled fight between 57-year-old Mike Tyson and 27-year-old Jake Paul.
Oh, man.
Go ahead, Bobby. Talk to me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's something that I want to see, as far as, like, because I love Mike Tyson. I was like a childhood hero of mine growing up, watching that man destroy people.
Mm-hmm.
And then watching him lose. I was sitting with my grandfather, he used to train with Buster Douglas, and his son was the one that beat Mike Tyson.
Damn.
So it was like one of those things, like I watched my childhood hero go down, and now to see him stoop to like such a low level, unfortunately, you know, I mean, I get why he's doing it, and hopefully he knocks him out.
I love Tyson. Tyson has done things that no other boxer ever will. Now, first off, for Jake Paul to be cocky enough to call out even, I don't care, Tyson could be 70 years old. He's got better technique. He's had 19 fights in his first year as a pro. His technique is impeccable, and his power will just break your head. I love Tyson, and I just want to see him knock the fuck out of Paul, man. I swear to God, I want to see Paul go down hard.
And he's scary looking.
Oh my God! If you watch training videos, what did you say? 57 years old. You watch modern day training videos of this guy, and his technique is flawless.
Well, I'm sure a good chunk of everyone who's going to be watching this fight, I'm sure feels the same way that you do, Satiro. I'm sorry. But either way, this fight is going to be one of the biggest watched, most watched, however you want to put it, fight in history. I've had many different shows where these Paul brothers have come up in the past, and they've fought other people, they've called out other people, and you know, we always wanted to see them lose, you know what I'm saying? But they kept on winning, and these kids, not from a market stand or whatever, they're very smart when it comes to that shit. They played the game very well, but when it comes to this fighting stuff, you know, there are a lot of people, though, that would say, you know, Jake Paul, or be on the Jake Paul wagon, saying, you know, I mean, based off age, you know.
I think his arrogance is going to get in the way of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Tyson said years ago, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Any plan after that, especially if Tyson punches you in the mouth, is going right out the window.
So your prediction, Satiro, is Tyson.
Absolutely.
Okay. Bobby?
Yeah, I got to take Tyson.
Okay.
Even, you know, I don't see Jake Paul as a boxer on even the level of like some of the top boxers that are going right now. Mike Tyson, 57, I don't care. Like, that man could be 100 and I'm not stepping in a ring with him.
Absolutely. The experience alone is just, he's got more experience than any other professional boxer out there. You know, in my opinion, his record speaks for itself. And when you fight 19 fights in 1 year at what, 17 years old? There's something to be said about that. And Jake Paul just really isn't in the league that Tyson will ever be.
Right on, that's fair. I mean, just for the record, I will say that, you know, I think that Mike Tyson is an animal. And I don't fucking care that he's 57 years old either, because I think, and we know, it's only going to take one.
There's a reason his name's etched in stone, is all I got to say.
So.
He built that name, and he earned every last bit of it, you know?
Right. But either way, I mean, it's going to be definitely something to watch here in the near future. But all right, let's get at it, guys. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, being a part of competitive sports has played a role in sculpting some form, you know, of structure in all our lives.
Absolutely.
That's safe to say?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay. So, Bobby, let me start with you, bro, because you are a coach and a parent. So
Yeah.
you have experiences being on both sides here. All right. So let me ask you first, what's your role, or the basic role of a quote unquote coach, you know, when dealing with athletes?
I mean, it's a tough one. It's getting tougher every day, I gotta say. Like my goal for me being a coach is like, listen, you got to be there for the kids, and you got to 100%, you know, give everything you got to those kids to give them something to look forward to. Some of them don't have good homes, you know what I'm saying? Some of them come from good homes, but that's like sports. That's a great thing in sports. Like, it brings all walks of life together.
Right on. So, Tiro, let me ask you then, being a parent, what do you expect from a coach who's coaching your kids?
I'm an old school parent. I believe in being real hard on my kids.
Okay.
My kids they were born with an athletic talent. That they would pick something up so ridiculously fast. And if they couldn't pick it up ridiculously fast, they were trying so hard to learn it. To me, watching the progression from when they first start to where they end up, having something else to go after all the time is what did it for me.
Okay. Now, does any of that go towards the impact that a coach has or would have?
Yeah, because I think a really good coach is going to find any particular way to relate to just about any of the players on their team. They should, you know, one way or another, reach a positive impact on the kid.
Right. You agree, Bobby?
That's actually a great thing that you brought up. Like, when you got kids that are, you know, from all different wavelengths and stuff, and some of them are forced there by their parents and they really don't want to be there, and then you got the kids who really want to be there. But you, as like me as a coach, and I know a lot of the coaches that I know, you got to find with each kid's different. Yeah. So you can't just use the same played out like building blocks for the same kid. Each kid is different. Each kid's going to respond to different things that you do. And the way you coach one kid, you may not necessarily be able to coach another kid that way. But you got to find that happy median. You got to be hard on them when you need to be hard on them, and you got to let them know that they did something good when they did something good.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, you got to walk a fine line. There's a fine line you got to walk. But if you do it the right way, the kids respond perfectly.
Okay, well, I was going to ask you then real quick, because Tiro mentioned that he's an old school parent. You, Bobby, being a coach in today's society, the stronger, stricter, harsher way of coaching maybe, or teaching, what have you. Have you found that does that still work with the kids today, or are you kind of got to shift it?
Yeah, it does. It does work with the kids.
Okay.
It's the parents that it doesn't work with.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing. one of the biggest things I can say ruining kind of like youth sports.
Okay.
Is the
parents interjecting.
And it's not even the kids, you know what I'm saying? It's the parents. I mean, it can be the kids too, because how the parent reacts is how the kid is going to react. So if a parent is, you know, saying bad things about a coach on the car ride home, that kid is going to feel a certain way about that coach. And then you're not going to get the best that you get out of a kid. I mean, I'm sure you see it with your kids. You know,
right. I mean, nowadays with sports events, you know, things get crazy, and as the level of competition increases, you know, so does the intensity with the teams, players, fans, parents, etc., what have you. Now, Bobby, you did mention, you know, some of the involvement with parents and kids and whatnot. So, Tiro, you being a parent / fan, you know, of your kids, what have you, when they play, let me first ask then, you know, quickly, are you able to balance the line between being the parent / fan / spectator, or are you a parent coach from the sidelines?
No, when they got out onto the basketball field or football field, basketball, whatever they wanted to play, that coach was their boss.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's the one thing that I like, because they had to show some level of respect towards somebody that wasn't their parent. You know, and you pretty much stay right out of it. And as long as you could do that and people could realize, hey, this is a game. This guy's got some sort of experience that you don't, that can teach your kid. Keep your mouth shut. Sit back and let it unfold. If your kid doesn't like it or something went wrong with that, then your kid's going to have to find a way through that. If he's got passion for the game, he's going to find a way to keep moving forward.
Absolutely. I respect that. I do agree with some of that, Bobby.
No, I agree with it totally.
All right. I mean, do you think, I mean, for both of you, but Bobby being a coach too, and, you know, Tiro, you being a parent with kids involved in sports, are these parents that may be making things a little difficult, getting a little too involved, whatnot, are parents vicariously living through their child's athletic ventures due to their own athletic shortcomings?
Some of them, yeah.
I would have to agree with that totally, man.
Yeah?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, yeah, I agree on a certain level. Like, you know, there are some parents, though, that played at a very high level. And, you know, they were successful, and it's just that competitive juice they have in them. And then you do have some, though, that definitely do, you know, want to live their glory days through their children.
You think that affects the kid?
It does. Yeah.
Because the kid's not doing it for themselves anymore. They're doing it for the recognition of the parent instead of for the love of the game. Like, you can have, I would have loved to see my kids fighting. You know what I'm saying? They have no interest in it. Me as a parent, I think the biggest thing that you could do as a parent is introduce your kids to so many different things and then let them choose what they want to follow. If they have enough interest and enough heart to really actually go ahead and do something, your say or anybody else's say isn't going to stop that. You know, they're going to want to follow it. They're going to want to do it. So as a parent, you stand back, you introduce them, stand back, and watch it unfold. It's the best we could do as a parent. You introduce them. If they like it, they like it. If not, we'll find you something different.
Well, right. Life's all about choices.
Absolutely.
All right. Bobby?
I mean, yeah, I feel it too, because, like, not only do it, like, I coach, but, like, I've also coached my son.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You have a very distinct point of view, like we had pointed out before, because you are on both sides of the coin right now. So you have a lot of different knowledge, different things that you've seen, experienced, etc. That a lot of other people don't have. So
Yeah.
I mean, well, so like the great thing though is like I grew up in the 90s. I played baseball in the 90s. I mean, I played football too, but I had tough coaches, like tough. My varsity baseball coach, tough. And it was the school of hard knocks. Like growing up playing that sport, it was competitive.
Yeah.
I was taught to, when I stepped on the baseball field, my mentality was that even if I thought a kid was better than me, never think that a kid's better than you.
Ever.
You step on that field knowing you're number one. Even if you're not number one, in your mind, you got to be number one. I had a great coach growing up, and the greatest quote I ever heard in my life was, "The body can't go where the mind hasn't been." So if you don't think or believe that you can go somewhere, how is the body supposed to follow? The body follows the mind.
Yeah.
Right on. I'm actually really glad that you kind of shifted that way, because I was going to ask, do either of you have a coach or have had a coach sometime in your life that, that you'll always remember, and why? Bobby, you pretty much answered that. Satiro, was there somebody that you, or a coach that you had that you can remember? And if so, why?
To be perfectly honest with you, one of the best coaches I had was my brother.
Okay.
We grew up fighting. He went quite a bit farther than what I did. He had an undercard fight scheduled with the UFC, and cracked his kneecap, took him out of the show. So stronger than me, bigger than me, and a little more well-versed. So you get rolling with your brother. It was a different training session, you know what I'm saying? Because you could go at it like brothers, and that was that, you know?
on.
So I would have to say, out of it all, man, my brother was probably one of my best coaches.
Right on. I mean, I myself, think back to all the many phases of different times playing sports and organized competitive sports, and all the different coaches that I have had in my lifetime. And fortunately enough, most of them were all pretty good. I was trying to think back of maybe ones that, good, not great, Nothing against any of them, but certain. But either way, I had one coach that, Bobby, you mentioned a quote. My big sport in high school was basketball, and I did very well. And my high school basketball coach, he used to say a line all the time in reference to basketball, and for some reason it always stuck with me, and I mentioned it to my kids when they were playing basketball, and still to this day. I mean, I hear them say it, I hear Jody say it, but just a simple free throws win ball games. It's as simple as that. Something that I always remembered. Good coaches play big roles in kids' lives. You know what I'm saying? So let me ask you though, Bobby. As a youth coach, are there any other examples or instances that make your coaching job a little more difficult besides parents?
The hardest thing for me, as far being a coach, is trying to walk the fine line of family time. When if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna be 100% and do it.
Right.
I'm not gonna half-ass it. I'm not gonna, if I can't give my all to it, then I'm not gonna do it at all. And my players see that, and so that's the hardest thing, is giving up family time to go and coach. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't want it any other way. I love coaching. My wife She understands it. She knows I love coaching. I got a passion for the kids, you know.
Right.
Like,
So a sacrifice.
yeah, you know, I'm there an hour before game time, before anybody's there, raking the field, getting the field, chalking the lines on the field, stuff like that. During COVID, just to like make it so that the kids could play, me and one of the other coaches in New Paltz would go to the field on separate shifts, and he would till the field and I would go and rake the grass out of the dirt. So when we got the okay from the governor to say, hey, you guys can play, the field was ready for these kids to play.
Right on. I mean, that's character.
But
shows love.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, though, that's hard is, like, how kids are being raised, though. Like, it's tough because they're not necessarily, like, taught certain things that, like, I was taught in the 90s. You know, there's no killer instinct sometimes.
Right, it's a different time period. We will kind of hit on that shortly. Let me just ask you both then real quick. Something that maybe often forgot about when it comes to sports and whatnot, but you know, very important are the referees. All right, so when you think about it, a shit job, you know, that nobody wants, but without them, you know, there are no games. So when the wave of all the ones who've been doing it, you know, for 30, 40 years, whatever, when they're gone, what's going to happen? You know, skilled, knowledgeable, trustworthy, can't be bought. You know, these are tough qualities
To find in a ref?
To find in people. And we are seeing that more and more these days. More and more people are calling out different games. Games are tainted. People are, I mean, money, sports betting, it's a huge part of life, of the game right now. So what the fuck?
Go ahead.
I think people have lost just a lot of integrity all the way around. Money replaced that portion of it, you know. They lost the basis of the game. I really haven't followed any team sports until my kids became old enough to really get involved with team sports. Then I became more interested with it. And I noticed that even at like a college level, they play with more of an intensity, more heart than when they get into the NBA. And I just think that, like, somewhere along the line, the money replaces your integrity along the way, and the basis of the game gets lost.
I agree with that too. I also see that maybe once, I mean, I agree that college level, you know, these kids, when it comes to college athletics, you can definitely tell the difference between their style of play, their heart, their aggressiveness, more so than pros. And we can stick with the NBA because it's very fitting, and that's where I feel like you see it most anyway, is, you know, these college kids bust their ass. They play super hard. Not that the pros don't play hard, but they really don't play hard until come playoff time. And you know, that's a slippery slope too. You can there's so many games, they want to their bodies, what have you. But I also think through these college kids, they play super hard because they still got something to look forward to. They're still trying to get there. Once they're there, yeah.
Well, they still have to show who their name is. You know, they're still trying to put their name out on the map. So, like, very
true. But I mean, that's where a lot of these kids have failed or fall off very quickly. But I don't know. I mean, we're gonna take a quick break soon. But let me ask you guys real quick. When it came to any organized sports currently, in the past, what have you? Either of you been thrown out of a game by a referee?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
I've definitely been thrown out.
Multiples?
Multiple.
times?
Yeah.
I got DQ'd a couple times.
Right on.
Yeah, it was a point karate match, and I hit him a little too hard.
Where at?
It was the New England Open.
Oh, I meant on the body.
Oh.
Where you...
I got a warning the first time. That was a straight body shot, and then the second time I caught him in the head.
No doubt.
It just,
All right.
they didn't like it.
They never do. They also don't like when you draw lines in the dirt
Oh, no.
to show them where the ball was.
I was kind of disappointed. I drove an hour and a half out to the competition, and then I was DQ'd in 10 seconds. First fight, I'm like, oh, man.
That's always the worst.
All right. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll continue to hear from both Bobby and Satiro as we cover winning and losing, participation trophies, and the effects that athletes are faced with. So make sure you come back with us right here on the It's All Relative podcast.
I'm in the game now, shit's the same now. Explode next mode, I'm the same how. Don't say you know me, just say you did. When you see me sliding off to another crib, boom, in the game now, I'm the same how. The rap game will never be the same now. Don't say you know me, just say you did. When you hear YO, say that's that shit.
Welcome back to It's All Relative. Still with me in studio, Bobby Simmons and Satiro Kazolias. All right, big question. Does winning and losing still have the same effect on today's athletes, whether they're kids, youth, young adults, what have you? But does it have the same effect as it did, let's say, 20 years ago? What do you guys think?
In what perspective? Like,
Do you, in your opinion, do you think that these athletes nowadays, do you think they handle winning and losing differently, poorly? How does it affect them at all? So,
I really think when it comes down to winning or losing, and the kid's attitude after it all is really going to depend on the parents and how they reacted after it all. You would hope, that if you got a kid in any sort of sport and they lose, they would feel upset about it, and vice versa. How they take it is really going to respond on the parents and how they influence it.
okay. What do you think, Bobby?
I think kids today kind of don't. Some of them really don't know how to take losing. Some of them don't know how to be winners.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them also don't know or don't understand that, like, there's got to be a winner, there's got to be a loser in order for it to kind of be important. And there's, you got to do that because...
Well, absolutely. I think that's that's the bottom line, right? Of like what competitive sports is. That's what the game is. All right. So like what I was kind of trying to say, I guess, in my opinion, too, when it comes to winning and losing now, how these athletes take it. I think that losing, when kids, young adults, college players, pro athletes, whatever, when they lose nowadays, it's kind of just like, all right, whatever. I think back 20 years ago when I referenced that, like athletes that I saw or even, playing sports myself back then, like, yo, you hated to lose. You were fucking pissed if you lost. Like there were people that, and you say, I mean, some people don't handle losses well. We all were around teammates or athletes, right, that would lose, and in the locker room, they're breaking shit, they're throwing chairs, they're hitting stuff, whatever. People handle losing different. Nowadays, I feel you don't necessarily, I don't know. You may see emotion, but it's not emotion directed with that kind of that spark, with that fire. Today's NBA players, for an example, after a game, whether win or lose, you see a lot of these guys swapping jerseys now, right? I mean, you guys, if you have an opinion about that, you can talk. I mean, you can share your opinion on that. To me, I think that shit's ridiculous. There's nothing wrong with swapping jerseys, but I mean, doing it after the game in front of cameras, what have you? That's not like, yo, bro, one of you just lost, right? Everybody, like, the common argument that I hear right now about that is that everybody, all these players, everybody's friends. So when everybody's friends, the competition level, the whatever is not.
Back in the day, the rules were so much different. The rules have been changed and watered down, so you even come close to anybody anymore, you're getting a foul called on you. And that's first off. The game has changed so much in the past 20 years.
Absolutely.
So back in the day when the team took the loss, there was no trade in jerseys. They were trading blows. You know, how many fights broke out? Just with even the GOAT, Michael Jordan. How many fist fights was he in? Several. So the rules are different. The times are different. I don't know. I think, especially at a professional level, that you ought to take your loss with a little bit of integrity, And
right.
You're an influence on the kids, so what they see is what they're going to react to.
Mm-hmm. Bobby, you agree? Disagree?
No, I definitely agree that there is that lack of passion and, growing up, if you were...
You good?
Growing up, like, watching sports, like, yeah, there were jersey swaps, but it was never in front of the cameras, and it wasn't, like... Usually it was because a guy was, like, retiring and he wanted, but now it's kind of too commercialized in my eyes. Yeah. Like, everything has to be, like, so you can make money off of it. In the sport, it's not about the sport no more. It's, like, I want to see guys at their peak level competing. In all sports, you guys, especially at the pro level, because you're influencing the generations that are behind you, who, if they don't see that, then what do they have to look forward to? Who's their hero?
Right on, I feel that. So what's the opinion on these athletes that are taking games off just because? Not because of an injury, but just because they want to. And when like you said, these kids are watching this, they are young kids, athletes, whatever. As they get older and better, they're going to get better. Their heads are going to get better. They have not reached the point yet where they may have finally caught up to their level of competition and then brought back to reality yet. So, they I forgot where I was going with that. I'm sorry. But
just with players just like not wanting to play just because they didn't feel like it.
Right, thank you. Yeah. And so these kids now they get to a certain level and maybe see that, and they may act or want, what I'm saying, to
slack
to
off. Play
that role and whatnot. I mean, what's the example for what's the opinion on the pros doing that? I mean, if they are the example, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, being a Kobe Bryant fan, like he's the perfect example of it. His wife Vanessa, she came out and said after he passed away that, she would ask him to take games off when he was injured. And he said, why? He said, what about the fans? What about the kid that's sitting at the top of the stadium?
Yeah.
What about him? Maybe his dad couldn't afford, but this is the only game that he'll ever come to, and he wants to see the best players on the court. Why am I not going to give them the best experience?
Absolutely. I mean, there's countless stories and whatnot of fans spending lots of money or traveling good distances to go see certain players, and they get to the game and realize, the dude or the player's not playing tonight just because he's taking a night off. That's a big blow. You know what I'm saying?
It's not disciplined.
Okay.
You have an obligation not just to the team but to the fans. I think if you're getting paid that amount of money, I think if you're getting paid any amount of money, you ought to do the job that you were hired for.
Right. Okay. So as a professional.
Yes.
Right. Okay. I agree with that.
But
I agree too.
with that being said, that's got to start from a child.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You got to teach that child the discipline to be able to show up even when you don't want to. It's what makes a champion a champion. It's what makes a winner a winner. Whatever the case is, it's the discipline to show up, perform, and do whatever you need to do. Jordan played with a fever. Over 100 degrees. He had a fever.
Yeah, the flu game.
The flu game.
Mm-hmm.
And he came off. I just don't understand it. I think as a society, everything is just getting a little too watered down. From football games to basketball games, the rules have changed so much that they're trying to take the competitiveness out of it.
Yeah, no, I can see that, and that's disheartening because I can, we can see it, being played out as we watch these things as they're changing everything. I mean, they just changed the kickoff or punt return rules for football now, which is pretty much like the XFL does now for the pros. So this upcoming season, I mean, they're changing a lot. And I agree, and it's a little sad because it's not the game that that we all grew up with and are familiar with. But I mean, let's keep rolling with kind of what you were saying, Satiro, because this is kind of why I had mentioned to you and I kind of asked you to come on this show is because when I was talking with you and when I was talking with you, Bobby, you both kind of individually and in not so many words, but both kind of mentioned the same thing. And this has to do with participation trophies. I
hate them.
Okay. So before we get, your thoughts and everything about that, let's the definition of a participation trophy is a trophy given to children who participate in a recreational sport without requiring their success in competition. All right. Just with that definition alone, do either of you want to dispute, argue, okay with,
The idea of participation trophies just doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay. Expand on that if you can.
All right, you got 20 players on. Say you got 20 players on a team.
Mm-hmm.
You can only get 9 on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whether it's on the field or whatever you do in life, you need to perform at a certain level to get to where these other guys are. There's always been a hierarchy of some fashion of it.
Correct.
Now you have a player that's of higher quality. They're putting in that work. They're putting in all the overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Even when they're not at practice, they're at practice. You know what I'm saying? They're excelling. Then you got the kids that play on the sidelines. They rather spend their time on video games or doing whatever instead of trying to push forward. So if everybody gets treated the same and everybody gets that little participation trophy, then what is there for the more elite players to strive toward? Because everybody under them now, that's the expectations of it. You know, I that's why I like the fight game. There was a winner and a loser. There were no excuses. You know, I just think it's not showing the kid any character or drive to want to excel. If you're going to get a trophy anyway, what's the point?
Yeah,
You
okay.
know?
I mean, Bobby, let's get your thoughts on this real quick.
So I'm not okay with it.
Okay.
I mean, you can, if it's, you know, let's say it's T-ball, because you want the kids to have fun. So at different levels, though, you got to change the mindset of the kids that not everybody's going to get a trophy.
Right.
I mean, there's some sports where they don't even keep score because they don't want the kids' feelings hurt. You know, and
I mean, I'll go on record right now. I think that's shitty. I think that's pointless. I do agree. I mean, you had mentioned that. I mean, participation trophies are okay, maybe with T-ball, but then having to draw a line. Don't you think that? Do you think that hinders even at a young age like that with T-ball? I mean, they're getting stuff, and as they get older, you know, yes, they have to transition and, you know that it's not, but I mean, that's what they're used to. That's the norm to them, you know what I'm saying? Getting that stuff at a young age.
yes and no.
Okay.
So, I mean, yes, it does in one aspect give them a false sense of hope, but the like at the lower levels, especially like T-ball and stuff, like it builds a sense of a passion too, because you're teaching them the game, and the end goal is that you want to be better. So if you get a trophy, it can start that fire in a kid for the winning. You know what I'm saying? So it's a fine line. But if you don't, you know what I'm saying? Like,
No, I feel you. It is definitely.
like I'm on the same side as you. You know.
No, you're good. Like for me, I go back and forth too. Like I have to. You know what I'm saying? I hear what you were saying about that. And it is a fine line. The definition of that, I think, I have beef with that in itself. I think it's such a shitty definition of when it says it, when it said it's requiring their success, or excuse me, it says children who participate in a recreational sport without requiring their success in competition. So, I mean,
right then and there, it states that their expectations aren't too high.
yes.
You know what I'm saying? Why not do your best? Why not raise the bar, see what you could do? Without any sort of expectation, what do you got going for you? Every day's going to be the same, and I'm sorry, but I just really think that the kids that have that passion, that want to work for it, want to do it, they deserve more than the kids that don't want to do the work. I can understand if you put in the work, and excelled and made it noticeable by the coaches, by the team, to sort of prove it.
Right. I mean, nonetheless, I do know that a participation trophy is something that's very. It's not. It's just something that's fit. It's if you are that special star, the one that puts in that extra time, you know, like you referred to, Satiro, you the one practicing when practice is over, when the cameras aren't there, you're still practicing. Eventually, those stars hopefully will make it, regardless whether these participation trophies, what have you. But, you know, I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
All right. You guys brought up Kobe Bryant, and I love Kobe. To me, next to Jordan, he was phenomenal. He had players that he would not pass the ball to. And when they went up and they said something about it, he was like, you were late to practice. You didn't want to do this. You know, you showed up late. You wanted to leave early. You wanted to do this or do that. So no matter where you are in life, if you're not participating, then why are you amongst them? You know, it's kind of like earning your spot. You know, that's what makes a champion, I guess. I mean, they're working harder than anybody else for that name. Why would they want the same treatment as somebody that's not putting in the work? It leaves nothing to strive for then.
I follow. I respect it. I mean, Bobby.
I mean, I agree, but like, once you hit a certain level, you're gonna find out who the kids really are that are gonna be the top echelon of the sports and stuff like that, and those kids do deserve like a better overall like treatment and stuff. But you got to remember that kid also at one point played a youth sport and got a trophy.
Right.
I mean, now it's gotten ridiculous. Like in the 90s, I got a trophy for T-ball, but I also worked my butt off to play at a high level for baseball.
You know, I think by the time that they hit 8 years old, their confidence level should be built up enough to where a participation trophy isn't even thought of. You know, that's out of the way, like kindergarten, preschool. You know, oh yeah, good job. You know, if you give credit where credit's due is all I really got to say. And when you even the playing field by giving people participation trophies and not acknowledging the other people that really busted their ass and have a passion for it, that it's just not the same. You're not building any character that way.
I agree. Let's talk real quick about the infamous example and story and video that you posted, Satiro, on your social media involving James Harrison. We all know and have heard a few years ago. For those of you who don't know, James Harrison was a linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he took his son's participation trophies away because he wanted them to, quote, earn a real trophy.
Correct. Absolutely.
You guys agree?
Absolutely.
You agree?
Yeah.
And I will say too, though, I should have checked, but I do know that not that this should matter, but his sons were at this time too at a younger level.
Yep.
To where it would, at a young enough age where it would cause so much commotion as it did for what he did. So I don't know the exact age, but let's definitely children.
All right, but here's a great question. Did he get any participation trophies to get to where he is?
Probably not.
To be able to play at that level, do you think somebody said, hey, that's good enough, here you go, and handed him a trophy?
Nah.
I highly doubt it, man. It really disheartens me, man. You look... I just feel it's such an injustice to the people that really, really, really want to play, that really have a passion for it. These other kids that just get put into the game and they're not really interested in it. Their parents wanted them to play. But hey, here you go.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not right to me.
I hear you. Bobby, what are your thoughts on the whole James Harrison incident?
I mean, I told my kid after T-ball. I was like, once they start keeping score, if you get a trophy and it ain't a championship trophy or a first place trophy,
You didn't earn it.
you didn't earn it. Even, second place trophies kind of irk me the wrong way, even though that's, not necessarily a participation trophy, because usually if you finish in second, 9 times out of 10 you lost to the better team. But that's not always the case. Growing up, that's how it was.
I mean, I agree. I agree with the common saying is, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. They call it first for a reason. Anything that's not first is last.
Yeah, but as society anymore is pushing towards something totally different. Everything's got to be equal. Everybody's got to be treated the same, regardless of whatever factors are contributed in. To me, nobody in history got a name by being mediocre. From the dawn of time, you had Achilles went above and beyond. Anybody that's made any sort of name for themselves put in that much more work than anybody else.
I agree.
I just think people should expect more from themselves and get used to disappointment, because it's a
Part of life.
part of life.
Yeah.
And your boss later in life isn't going to give you a participation trophy for showing up and not producing shit.
I agree. It's what I'm saying too. I mean, I don't know.
You're setting your kids up for failure if you're giving them more props than they deserve.
I agree. I feel bad for some of the ones that are going to find out the hard way, that aren't used to being told no, or maybe being told, that that you're excellent when maybe it's just, you're good. And then when you get to a certain level and you hear that, it's going to be a shock.
Yeah, and if you're not prepared for that way ahead of time, man, if somebody made you think that you were better than what you were, giving you trophies.
I was going to rock your shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for real. Well, then, real quick, do participation trophies hurt the child? Bottom line. What do you guys think? Yes, no?
In my opinion, yeah.
Okay.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, just as you guys feel that way, many people agree, are on the opposite side of the spectrum, and many people agree with participation trophies. So I just want to ask you both how each of you would respond to these key points in regards to participation trophies. Now, these were both quotes from Candida Fink, MD. I apologize if I mispronounced her name, but she is a board certified in child, adolescent, and general psychiatry. She stated, "Children's lives are already full of competition. We don't have to load them up with more." Agree, disagree?
I have to disagree with that.
Okay.
Everything in life is a competition. Everything.
Yeah, the whole world's set up on competition. And
Okay.
You're competing for work. You're competing for love. You're competing against it. Name one thing you weren't competing for.
Good grades. You had the kid that had the best grade, the kid that had the worst grade. You were competing to get to that best grade.
You got sick people just competing to live. Everything in life is a competition, and if you hand out participation trophies right off the jump, then when you have a hard time, and guess what? You got to figure that shit out, and you either got to win or you're going to fucking lose. Life isn't going to throw you a participation trophy. And if kids don't get used to disappointment, people wonder why mental illness is a big thing anymore.
Yeah.
They've been, so sensitized to everything. Oh, I lost. I got to cry about it. But here you go. my kids would fall down as a child. My wife would jump up and try to, oh, it's okay. No, leave him alone. Get away from him. And you know what? He would get right back up and do the same stupid shit all over again. I just think they gotta get used to it.
Okay.
It's a false sense of reality, really.
Oh, I see that. What about this point? Celebrating children's participation, regardless of success or failure, protects children's emotional health.
Yeah, but then when they get to adulthood, they have no mental health. Like, their mental health is bad. They can't handle being told that they're not a winner. Mm-hmm. If you honestly keep letting kids believe that there's no winner, there's no loser, the generation that falls is going to be softer and softer and softer than the next generation. There's no killer instinct anymore without having the competition for the kids.
Yeah, I see that too. I feel it. I see it in sports now.
It's not just sports, it's everything. It's how they're told they can't, defend themselves in schools if another student tries to attack them. You know what I'm saying? They're supposed to go and tell the teacher. That's not a good mindset. Like, I'm not saying you should beat anybody or anything like that, but
when you get in trouble for defending yourself,
yeah,
that's an issue.
Especially if you try to do the right thing. I've always told my kids, if you try to do the right thing and they still don't take care of it, and you got to handle it yourself, then I'll go to the end of the world for you, and I'll fight for you as long as I know you're in the right.
Yeah, that's a good example of, the times that you were brought up too, because that's what we were taught, and it's
society's been transitioning everything over toward, everybody being so equal. Mm-hmm. And when it comes down to participation trophies, that's like, to me, that's the introduction to it all. Here you go. Don't strive for nothing.
Yeah, I agree. I think the bottom line too, it kills the
competitive spirit that
yes,
everybody should strive for.
Yes.
If you have any interest in it whatsoever, your main goal ought to be to excel.
Correct.
And somebody that's performing less or doesn't have as much passion, it serves no purpose.
I hear you. All right, well then let me quickly ask you both before we wrap it up. What are the positives and beneficial results of kids involved in competitive sports?
Well, I see that kids that grow up in competitive sports tend to be more successful in life because, one, not just take the sports out of it. Mm-hmm. Let's take that out of it. But the team aspect of it, unless they're doing an individual sport like you did with fighting, but you're still part of a dojo, and that dojo is a team. Mm-hmm. And you learn how to work things out. You learn to work together for a common goal, and that goal is success. And if you honestly can't have competitiveness with that, you gotta be there for that team, and a team structure is beautiful. Mm-hmm. I grew up with it. I played baseball my whole life. at a high level, and like it built me for the real world. Jobs, you know, when you go to a job and you can, you know, you were in competitive sports, you know how to take constructive criticism from my boss, you know, on a day-to-day level.
Yeah. Satiro, any positives and beneficial results that you can think of with kids being involved in sports or in competitive sports?
I love kids in sports. My entire family, my sister's got 5 kids, all of them involved in martial arts, soccer. Everybody in my family is in one way, shape, or form in some sort of sport. I think it is a great discipline if you have enough desire to do it, you know, and don't half-ass it. You know, that's my thing. If you're going to do something, do it thoroughly, do it because you love it, and try to master it if you can, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I absolutely love sports. I think it's great for kids.
Right on.
I tried to keep my kids involved in as many as I could since they were 4 years old. Could start playing soccer, get them involved. It's good for social community, you know, social interaction, physical fitness. And then when they do lose, guess what? They learn disappointment, because you can't have success without failure. You know?
I agree with both of everything that you guys said. I mean, it's healthy. It's a healthy outlet. It builds structure. It's beneficial.
While football season is around, you're literally at the football field 6 days a week, you know, 3 hours, 4 hours a night sometimes. And that amount of time right there took my kids off of video games, off their cell phones. They were, you know, shot. Get up in the morning, you trained all day, you worked your ass off, and they felt better.
Right.
You know?
Right. Achieving or doing something, feeling like you accomplish something every day, as opposed to, which most people and parents, adults would have you say when they have kids involved in sports. You know, it keeps their asses out of trouble.
I mean, it definitely keeps you out of trouble. It kept me out of trouble.
That's what I'm saying.
And I mean, not just the sports, but the coaches that I had.
The discipline of the whole
thing. The discipline,
yeah.
the coach. Knowing that, like, I also didn't want to go back and disappoint my coach, who put so much work into me over the years. And there was that sense of respect, you know, that was like, hey, you take pride in what you do. And there was that pride, that like conviction that like, hey, I don't want to disappoint my coach. I don't want to disappoint the person who I am. I got to do the right thing.
Right on. Now, once again, the other side of the coin, are there any negative things that you guys can think of, or negative results of kids being involved in competitive sports for or at or starting at such a young age?
It's really hard to find a negative on, you know, introducing a child to a healthier lifestyle, to a more physical, mental, ruling lifestyle. My kids are loaded with character, and I give them all the credit in the world. When it was off season, my son would just load up a backpack full of rocks and run for an hour.
Dang.
And no joke. And they put in so much effort. And I watched my youngest son. He looks like Bruce Lee, dude. All he does is work out. It's off season. He's at the gym every single day.
Nice.
Why? Because I gave him something to strive for. And I look at the growth of them throughout the sports, whether it was soccer to basketball to now football. I just look at the evolution of them, and I can't really think of a negative for getting a child involved in some sort of physical activity. It could even be dancing. And
Yeah.
dancing is so grueling. You know what I'm saying? How many football players do you know take ballet or, you know, some sort of light on your toes yoga? You know?
Just the ones that been on the Dancing with the Stars shit.
They were there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so regardless of what you're doing, I mean, you got to find something that you really like to do. And it comes down to what I said earlier about just introducing your kid to just about everything. If they don't like it and they don't feel that they could do it 100%, then don't waste your time doing it. Life is too short to do shit that you don't fucking like. You know, and the one thing that I just ask of them is if I'm going to give you all that time, you know, and the opportunity to do it, if you do choose to do it, just do it 100%.
Right
You know, that's my outlook on it. You don't waste your time on something that you're not going to put everything into.
Right on. Bobby, any negatives?
I mean, introducing your kids to sports, definitely not a negative thing. You know, keeping your kids in sports just for your own enjoyment,
That's a different story.
that's a big problem.
Okay,
Because
so that could be a negative.
That's going to be a negative as they get older and as the competition gets better.
Right.
It could lead to injuries because, you know, you got a kid that's being forced to be there and you got a kid that wants to be there. That's two different types of animals right there, you know. So you don't you don't I want kids to be in sports. It doesn't
Right.
And you know, there's all different kind of sports. There's sports for everybody nowadays, you know, with the amount of different sports that are coming out. So there's things for you to do.
Pickleball.
Yeah, pickleball. I mean, cornhole.
huge, yeah.
Cornhole's huge.
Yeah, I mean, when I was trying to, you know, when I had thought about that question too, when I was trying to think of if there's any negative or anything, how can you really say that having a child involved in competitive sports is really negative at all? The only thing that I could think of was the longevity of the whole grind of itself. At a young age, starting at a young age to, let's say, high level, you know, you have countless practices, games, camps, workouts, AAU leagues, high school games, college games. You know, if and by the time you get and are able to get to the pro level, you know, your body's gone through a hell of a lot already.
Yeah.
And now you finally made it, and now what? You know what I'm saying?
You do your best.
Well,
I feel you.
but you also always got to have something to fall back on. You know, there's a thing of being an athlete. You know, and as an athlete, you're like, I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player my whole life. You know, I really did. And then I had nothing to fall back onto because I wasn't well-rounded. So you should have something to fall back onto. But if you make it to the pros after taking that beating, I applaud you. Because that's a grind. In any sport, it doesn't matter what it is. You put the work in. You gave up weekends, holidays, hanging out with your friends, all that stuff. And you put in the work to be there to get to that level. So you deserve to, you know, give 100% at that level. But you put the work in.
Right on. All right. Well, is there anything else that either of you would like to mention while you guys got the mic? You all good?
I mean, all I can say is, parents, let the coaches be coaches.
And don't be too easy on your kids. They can take a lot more than what you think they can. You never know until you try, and unless you push yourself to any limit, you know, you never know what more you could do.
Right on. All right. Well, I want to thank both of you again for agreeing to come on. It's all relative. I'm grateful for the time. So
You're
thank you
welcome.
both.
Thank you.
Absolutely, bro. One last question for you both. I kind of ask every guest this, but who is someone in each of your life's Rolodex that you would recommend to come on It's All Relative?
And someone in my
Someone in your network, someone that you know, someone that you, whether personally through your social media network, somebody that you would just recommend or you think that would be a good fit to be a guest on the show. Anyone, you can drop any name.
I would probably say Anne Marie Shirley.
Okay.
She runs Interlay Health Spa,
Okay.
yoga, all sorts of meditations and dance and things like that. She's got a great personality.
Right on. Bobby, someone in your life Rolodex that you can recommend to be on It's All Relative. Can be anybody. We don't necessarily take, whoever you get the guest recommend. There are some that we go after, but we just use it as a fallback in case. So someone that you know.
I think it would have to be my my baseball coach,
Okay.
Gary Zingaro.
Okay.
He's somebody who really has a good head on his shoulders, and
Right on.
I think would be perfect.
All right. Appreciate the recommendations from both of you. Bobby, is there anyone or anything that you'd like to plug or shout out?
I would definitely like to plug my friend's tattoo shop. His name's Matt Fragner, and he owns Pandora's Box in Port Ewan, New York. Go check him out if you want a great tattoo.
Right on. And what are your social media accounts in case any fans or listeners want to get at you?
I'm on Facebook, Bobby Simmons, and then I am on Instagram, Blazing Mantis 19.
Right on. Satiro, anyone or anything that you want to plug or shout out?
The Bar West of Maine, Pleasant Valley, right on Route 44 and West Road. Little bar restaurant, great food, great drinks.
Right on. And what are your social media accounts in case
I'm on Facebook.
fans are listening?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook.
Okay. All right. And you guys can always find me at Josh_Toth3. That's my Instagram. My Facebook is Joshua Toth. And the show's Instagram page is it's_all_relative_podcast. If you have any comments, recommendations, thoughts to the show, anything, you can direct all messages to there. Big shout out to Stellar Sound and Media and our editor, Jackson Wallace. Also, shout out to Timber Design and Build. If you're looking for home renovations, additions, custom clean quality work, contact Chris Rawl or Jeff Wigman on Instagram or any other social media platforms. And don't forget, you can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify for podcasters, YouTube Music, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. And if you are using Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please don't forget to subscribe and or follow the show. And please leave a rating and a 5-star review. Those help us out. Those help the show out. And, we greatly appreciate that, and we thank all of you. To those of you who have shown the love, we appreciate that. But all right, that's a wrap. Bobby, Satiro, thanks again.
Hey, pleasure, man.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. All right, everyone, stay safe, stay kind, stay proud and powerful, and we'll see everyone soon. Peace.